They weren't just freezing, they were running from something. Two alien twins, shivering in the snow, begged a lone woodcutter for warmth. But when one whispered, "Please, don't let them find us," he realized he hadn't rescued them. He'd just been hunted too. The wind cut like glass across the ridge. Snow hissed through the trees, wrapping the world in white noise. Evan Merrick swung his axe again, the crack of frostwood echoing through the valley. He'd been alone for 3 winters now. Just him, his cabin, and an opinionated supply sled named Hobble that never learned silence. "Therapeutic chopping session number 5000, the sled muttered through its speaker. "Be glad you don't have nerves," Evan replied, breathing fog. "They freeze first." He was about to call it a day when something pierced the steady rhythm of wind and wood, a sound too soft to be machinery and too broken to be animal. A whimper, then another. Evan straightened. The forest looked empty, but the air carried fear. He could almost feel it on his skin. He grabbed his lamp and followed the noise, boots crunching through knee-deep snow until he reached a half-collapsed sign from the old mining days. Beneath the metal sheet, 2 small figures huddled together, trembling so hard the snow slid off their shoulders in waves. Children, or close to it. Their skin shimmered pale green-silver beneath frost, eyes wide and mirrored like moonlight. Aliens, he realized, the kind settlers whispered about but never saw this far south. One lifted her head. "Please," she rasped, "don't let them find us." That sentence twisted something inside him. Evan dropped to his knees, stripping off his coat. The younger one didn't even flinch as he wrapped it around them both. They were ice cold, ribs sharp under the fabric. "How long have you been out here?" No answer, only shaking. The older girl clutched a pendant that flickered faintly red, like a dying heartbeat. Hobble's voice crackled through the fog behind him. "Great. You've adopted extraterrestrial popsicles," Evan sighed. "Add it to the chore list." He lifted the girls, light as bundles of sticks, and started toward the faint glow of his cabin. Each step sank deep, snow dragging at his boots, the wind screaming louder with every meter. For the first time in years, the silence he'd loved so much felt heavy, dangerous, alive. Whatever peace he'd built here just ended with 2 shivering strangers in his arms. The cabin door slammed behind them, sealing out the blizzard with a rush of heat and smoke. Firelight flickered across the walls, painting the wood in shades of gold and amber. Evan set the 2 small bodies near the hearth and threw more logs into the flames. The smell of resin filled the air. For a moment he just watched them, 2 tiny shapes swallowed by his old coat. One's lips trembled, the other barely moved. He pressed his fingers to their wrists. Faint, but there, still fighting. "Hey," he said softly, "stay with me. You're safe now." The older girl's eyelids fluttered open. Her eyes reflected the fire like glass. "You shouldn't have helped us," she whispered. Evan frowned. "Yeah, well, I've been told that before." He grabbed a pot, filled it with melted snow, and added dried roots from a jar. The air warmed with the scent of broth. Behind him, Hobble buzzed from the corner. "So, Hero Complex back online? Shut up and heat the stew." The sled obeyed, mumbling about poor life choices. When Evan turned, the girls were staring at the dancing fire, half terrified, half mesmerized. He crouched beside them. "It's not going to hurt you," he said. "Just thaw you out." The older one spoke again, voice trembling. "We're not supposed to be seen. If they find us, they'll take us back." "Who's they?" She hesitated, clutching her pendant. Its faint red glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Evan noticed a hairline crack running through it, wires exposed. "That's not jewelry, is it?" She shook her head. "Mama said to keep it close. She said it would bring help." Evan stared at the flickering light. "Yeah, well, let's hope it called the right kind of help." He ladled broth into tin cups and handed one to each. They sipped cautiously. The younger one made a face. "Not a fan of root stew?" "It tastes like metal," she mumbled. "Good. Means it's working." For the first time, a tiny smile cracked through the fear on her face. It hit him harder than he expected. Outside, wind howled against the shutters. Inside, the cabin felt smaller, warmer, and far less empty than it had yesterday. And somewhere in that storm, something else was listening. By morning, the storm had slowed, but the quiet felt wrong. Too heavy, too still. Evan stirred the fire, the crackle echoing in the small room. The twins slept curled together beneath his coat, their breathing shallow but steady. For the first time, he noticed how young they truly were. Maybe 8, maybe 10. Hobble hummed beside the window, scanning. Motion detected. 40 meters southeast. 2 heat signatures. Evan's grip tightened on his mug. Animals? One's metal, the other's angry. A knock rattled the cabin door before he could answer. 3 short raps. Pause. 2 more. Military rhythm. He unhooked the latch. The man outside wore a frost-stained coat with a coalition of settlement purity insignia gleaming on his shoulder. A scar crossed his jaw like a burn mark. Marek, the stranger said with a practiced smile, didn't think anyone still lived this far out. Evan's stomach sank. He knew that voice. Voss. You're a long way from headquarters. Patrol duty. Looking for lost assets. Voss stepped closer, scanning the room. You've seen anything strange? Movement? Signals? Evan held his stare. Only snow and silence. The older twin stirred behind him. He shifted slightly, blocking her from view. You sure? Voss pressed, eyes narrowing. Our readings say something pinged a distress beacon in this sector. Evan's pulse thudded. The pendant. He forced a shrug. Maybe your machines are picking up ghosts. Voss smiled thinly. Maybe. He leaned in, voice lowering. You used to fix those machines, remember? Before you quit? Yeah, Evan said. Before I realized they were better at killing than fixing. The tension hung thick, brittle as ice. After a moment, Voss stepped back. If you see anything unusual, report it. He turned toward the fog, boots crunching. The hum of his patrol drone faded with him. When the door shut, Evan exhaled hard, leaning against it. The older twin whispered from behind the table. He's one of them. Yeah, Evan said quietly. And now he knows I'm lying. The pendant on her chest flickered again, brighter this time, as if answering. Outside, the silence returned, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something waiting. The storm returned without warning. By dusk, the wind screamed through the trees like something alive. Snow slammed against the cabin windows, turning the world into a blur of white. Evan tightened the shutters and checked his rifle's charge. The twins sat near the fire, their faces pale in the flickering light. You said he won't come back, the older one whispered. I said I hope he won't, Evan corrected. Hope's cheaper than certainty. Hobble's sensors blinked red. Correction, movement inbound. One signature, human. Same mass as yesterday's visitor. Evan's chest went cold. Voss, he motioned the girls toward the trap door beneath the rug. Down there. Now they hesitated. What if he... Don't argue, Evan said, softer than he meant. I'll handle it. The knock came again. 3 short, 2 long, deliberate, confident. When Evan opened the door, Snow and Voss blew in together. The commander smiled like a man who'd already won. Didn't think you'd make me come twice, he said. Your little guest left quite a trail. Evan's jaw clenched. You're mistaken. Voss stepped closer, brushing frost from his coat. You always were a terrible liar. The signal flared again. Biometric resonance, not mechanical. The twins aren't children, Evan. They're prototypes, half human. Built to survive what you people broke. For a heartbeat, Evan couldn't breathe. They're alive. That's all that matters, Voss drew his weapon. Not to the coalition. The floorboards creaked behind Evan. The twins had climbed out. The younger one's pendant glowed like a small sun, pulsing with panic. Stay back, Evan said, raising his rifle. Move aside, Voss ordered. You can't save them. Evan's hand trembled, but not with fear, with fury. You know, I used to believe that. Then 2 freezing kids knocked on my door. A flash of light erupted from the pendant, blinding, warm, alive. Heat roared through the room, melting frost on the walls. Voss stumbled backward, blinded. Evan charged, slamming him into the doorframe. The rifle fired once. Silence followed. When the light dimmed, Voss was gone, buried under a collapsed drift outside. The twins clung to each other, shaking. Evan lowered his weapon, chest heaving. "Next time," he muttered, "I'm locking the damn door." Outside, the wind screamed on, but inside, something else had changed. For the first time, the fire felt like it belonged to all of them. By morning, the storm had died, leaving the world covered in clean, untouched snow. The sky was pale gold and smoke rose gently from the cabin's chimney. Inside, warmth hummed like a heartbeat. Evan sat by the fire, rubbing the ache from his shoulders. His coat hung over the chair, scorched from the night before. The twins were curled together under a blanket, safe, their breathing soft and steady. Across the room, their mother, Seren, stirred for the first time. She blinked, confused, eyes catching the glow of the fire. Where are they?" "Right there," Evan said quietly. "And they're not going anywhere." She tried to sit up. He helped her gently, steadying her with a hand. "You found them?" "They found me," he answered with a faint smile. "I just happened to be stubborn enough not to let them freeze." Seren looked at him for a long moment, part gratitude, part disbelief. "You risked everything." "I was already doing nothing," Evan said. "This felt like an improvement." Hobble chimed from the corner, voice fuzzy from damage. "Statistically, your survival rate is now terrible. Congratulations on becoming emotionally compromised." Evan chuckled. "Add it to my list of bad habits." The twins stirred awake at the sound. Lyra rubbed her eyes and looked toward her mother. "Mama." Seren reached for them, voice breaking. "I'm here." The three of them clung together, silent but whole. Evan turned away, giving them space, but the warmth in his chest was new. Quiet and heavy, like peace sneaking in through the cracks. After a while, Seren spoke again, softer. "We can't stay hidden forever." "I know," he said, "but you can stay for now." Outside, the snow glittered under weak sunlight. Inside, the cabin no longer felt like a shelter. It felt alive. There was laughter when Neo spilled the stew, teasing when Hobble complained about being used as a table again. Later that night, Evan carved something into the wall above the hearth. Even, Seren, Lyra, NIO. He stepped back, wiped the dust from his fingers, and smiled. "Guess this old place finally has a name." Seren looked at him. "What's that?" He glanced at the fire, its light steady and warm. "Home." And for the first time in years, the word didn't sound temporary. Outside, the world was still white and endless. The kind of silence that used to make Evan feel small now sounded like breathing. Steady, alive. Smoke from the chimney drifted upward, curling into the morning light. He stood in the doorway for a moment, axe in hand, watching the snow melt off the branches. The twins' laughter echoed faintly behind him, mixing with the crackle of fire and the hum of Hobble's tired circuits. For once, the noise didn't bother him. It felt like music. He looked back inside. Seren was mending a torn sleeve by the hearth, her red hair glinting in the glow. When she caught him watching, she smiled, tired but real. "Going out again?" she asked. "Just checking the traps," he said, pulling on his gloves. "Someone's got to keep the stew interesting." She laughed softly. "Try not to bring home more lost children this time." "No promises." Evan stepped out into the cold, but the air didn't bite like it used to. Somewhere along the way, the frost had turned into something else, something gentle. His voice lingered in the stillness, quiet but certain. "Two shivering twins came to my door asking for warmth. Turns out they weren't the only ones who needed it." The camera would pull back here, showing the cabin as a small, glowing dot in the vast frozen wilderness. The firelight inside flickers through the window, a fragile ember against the endless snow. And as the music swells, his final words drift through the air like breath in the cold. "Sometimes warmth isn't what you give, it's what you find when you finally stop running." The screen fades to black. A faint heartbeat of light lingers, steady golden, then disappears. End.